Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Kalachandji Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Pleasure to be here with all of you. So this morning we're continuing the saga of 4 great personalities. Actually, the oldest in all of creation, aside from Brahma, although they look like 5-year-old boys. The 4 Kumaras are entering Vaikuntha, and they will have a little trouble on their way to seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they won't be happy by it. So we'll discuss their displeasure and what it means to us. So, thank you, Prabhu. So, remind me of the text we're reading. Should I pull it up? I don't remember which text we're reading. I think text 26 is where we start. Chapter 15? Thank you, Prabhu. 31. Okay. F11. Or just click the 3 dots in the top right, and you can select full screen from there. Oh, right next to Zoom, 250%, there's a square thing, press that. All right, do we have a microphone for reading? All right. Please, Jose, go ahead and start.
Thus, the great sages Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanat Kumara, upon reaching the above-mentioned Vaikuntha in the spiritual world, by dint of their mystic yoga performance, perceived unprecedented happiness. They found that the spiritual sky was illuminated by highly decorated airplanes, piloted by the best devotees of Vaikuntha, and was predominated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
After passing through the 6 entrances of Vaikuntha Puri, the Lord's residence, without feeling astonishment at all the decorations, they saw at the 7th gate 2 shining beings of the same age, armed with maces and adorned with most valuable jewelry, earrings, diamonds, helmets, garments, etc.
So do you think you all would be attracted by all these beautiful gems and beautiful gates and all of this opulence? Probably, I would. I'd stop and look. But they were not interested. They were determined to see the Lord himself. Okay.
The 2 doormen were garlanded with fresh flowers which attracted intoxicated bees, and which were placed around their necks and between their 4 blue arms. From their arched eyebrows, discontented nostrils, and reddish eyes, they appeared somewhat agitated.
The great sages, headed by Sanaka, had opened doors everywhere. They had no idea of ours and theirs. With open minds, they entered the 7th door out of their own will. just as they passed through the 6 other doors, which were made of gold and diamonds.
Thank you. The 4 boy sages, who had nothing to cover their bodies but the atmosphere, looked only 5 years old, even though they were the oldest of all living creatures and had realized the truth of the self. But when the porters, who happened to possess a disposition quite unpalatable to the Lord, saw the sages, they blocked their way with their staffs, despising their glories, although the sages did not deserve such treatment at their hands.
When the Kumaras, although by far the fittest persons, were thus forbidden entrance by the 2 chief doorkeepers of Sri Hari, while other divinities looked on, their eyes suddenly turned red because of anger, due to their great eagerness to see their most beloved master, Sri Hari, the personality of Godhead.
Text 32. The sages said, "Who are these 2 persons who have developed such a discordant mentality, even though they are posted in the service of the Lord in the highest position and are expected to have developed the same qualities as the Lord? How are these 2 persons in Vaikuntha? Where is the possibility of an enemies coming into this kingdom of God? The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no enemy. Who could be envious of him? Probably these 2 persons are impostors. Therefore, they suspect others to be like themselves."
In the Vaikuntha world, there is complete harmony between the residents and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just as there is complete harmony within space between the big and the small skies. Why then is there a seed of fear in this field of harmony? These 2 persons are dressed like inhabitants of Vaikuntha, but wherefrom can their disharmony come into existence?
Therefore, let us consider how these 2 contaminated persons should be published. The punishment should be apt, for thus benefit can eventually be bestowed upon them, since they find dually in the existence of Vaikuntha life, they are contaminated and should be removed from the place of the material world, where the living entities have 3 kinds of enemies.
When the doormen of Vaikuntha Loka, who were certainly devotees of the Lord, found that they were going to be cursed by the Brahmanas, they at once became very much afraid and fell down at the feet of the Brahmanas in great anxiety. For Brahmanas' curse cannot be counteracted by any kind of weapon.
After being cursed by the sages, the doormen said, "It is quite apt that you have punished us for neglecting to respect sages like you. But we pray that due to your compassion at our repentance, the illusion of forgetting the Supreme Personality of Godhead will not come upon us as we go progressively downward." And we'll finish there. Tomorrow we'll pick up and hear the reply as the Lord will appear on the site. So we'll go back to text 31. Tabhyam mishatsva nimisheshu nishidyamana Svarhattamahyapi hare pratihara pabhyam Uchu suhrittama didrikshita bhanga ishat Kamanujena sahasata upaplutaksha Anybody can chant? Tam yam ishitsva nimisheshu nishidhyamanaha Sarhattamaya pihare pratihara pabhyam Uchu suhrittama didrikshita bhanga ishat Kamanujena sahasata upaplutaksha Tabhyam ishatsva nimisheshu nishidhyamanaha Swarhattamahya pihare pratihara pabhyam Uchu suhrittama didrikshita bhanga ishat Kamanujena sahasata upaplutakshaha Tabhyam mishatsva nimisheshu nishidhyamanaha Swarhattamaya pihare pratihara pabhyam Uchu suhrittama didrikshita bhanga isha Kamanujena sahasata upaplutakshaha. All right, thank you all. We can read together. Tabhyam, by those two porters, mishatsu, while looking on, ani misheshu, demigods living in Vaikuntha, nishidhyamana, being forbidden, su arhatama, by far the fittest persons, he api, although, hare, of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, pratihara pabhyam, by the two doorkeepers, Uchu, said, Suhrittama, most beloved, didrikshita, eagerness to see, bhange, hindrance, ishat, slight, kama, anujena, by the younger brother of lust, anger, sahasa, suddenly, te, those great sages, upapluta, agitated, akshaha, eyes. Translation, please read with me. When the Kumaras, although by far the fittest persons, were thus forbidden entrance by the two chief doorkeepers of Sri Hari, while other divinities looked on, their eyes suddenly turned red because of anger, due to their great eagerness to see their most beloved master, Sri Hari, the personality of Godhead. All right. Would somebody kindly start the purport?
According to the Vedic systems, a sannyas, a person in the renounced order of life, is dressed in saffron-colored garments. This saffron dress is practically a passport for the mendicant and sannyas. The sannyasi's duty is to enlighten people in Krishna consciousness. Those in the renounced order of life have no other business but preaching the glories and supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Vedic sociological conception is that a sannyasi should not be restricted. He is allowed to go anywhere and everywhere he wants, and he is not refused any gift he might demand from a householder. The four Kumaras came to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. The word Suhirtama, best of all friends, is important. As Lord Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, he is the best friend of all living entities. Suhridam Sarva Bhutanamam. No one can be a greater well-wishing friend to any living entity than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is so kindly disposed towards everyone that in spite of our completely forgetting our relationship with the Supreme Lord, He comes Himself. Sometimes personally, as Lord Krishna appeared on this earth, and sometimes as His devotee, as did Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And sometimes He sends His bona fide devotees to reclaim all the fallen souls. Therefore, He is the greatest well-wishing friend of everyone, and the Kumaras wanted to see Him. The doorkeepers should have known that the four sages had no other business, and therefore to restrict them from entering the palace was not apt.
Thank you.
In this verse, it is figuratively stated that the younger brother of desire suddenly appeared in person when the sages were forbidden to see their most beloved personality of Godhead. The younger brother of desire is anger. If one's desire is not fulfilled, the younger brother, anger, follows. Here we can mark that even great saintly persons like the Kumaras were also angry, but they were not angry for their personal interests. They were angry because they were forbidden to enter the palace to see the personality of Godhead. Therefore, the theory that in the perfectional stage one should not have anger is not supported in this verse. Anger will continue even in the liberated stage. These four mendicant brothers, the Kumaras, were considered liberated persons, but still they were angry because they were restricted in their service to the Lord. The difference between the anger of an ordinary person and that of a liberated person is that an ordinary person becomes angry because his sense desires are not being fulfilled, whereas a liberated person, like the Kumaras, becomes angry when restricted in the discharge of duties for serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Thank you. In the previous verse, it has been clearly mentioned that the Kumaras were liberated persons. Viditatma tattva means one who understands the truth of self-realization. One who does not understand the truth of self-realization is called ignorant. But one who understands the self, the super-self, their interrelation, and activities in self-realization is called Viditatma tattva. Although the Kumaras were already liberated persons, they nevertheless became angry. This point is very important. Becoming liberated does not necessitate losing one's sensual activities. Sense activities continue even in the liberated stage. The difference is, however, that sense activities in liberation are accepted only in connection with Krishna consciousness, whereas sense activities in the conditioned stage are enacted for personal sense gratification. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So yes. Okay. Well, okay.
So it's saying that the anger was justified because their desire was not. Hold on, what is this?
For their personal sense gratification.
Yes, it was not for their personal sense gratification. And so, I don't know how well I'm going to be able to articulate this, but what I'm wondering is something like, because I also have this desire, right, to see the Lord. And if I feel anger because this desire is not being fulfilled, that's not like a personal interest, that like, oh, I want to see the God. I feel like I have right to that. And I know, the Kumaras are pure devotees, but like, what else is there, like a way to look at this, or I don't know if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Well, Prabhupada explains that desirelessness really means to desire Krishna, not to have no desire. And it's a spiritual desire to want Krishna, and to become frustrated that we're not able to get there is reasonable. I'll speak what I was going to say, and let's see if that covers it. And it's a really nice question, so we can have some more discussion on that as we go. So, what I wanted to share is that Srila Prabhupada first emphasizes that Krishna is the best of all friends. He's so wonderful. The word used is suhrittama, which means the most beloved. And he explains how he's the best friend of everybody, and nobody can be a greater friend than Krishna. Krishna is Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam. He is the supreme enjoyer of everything. He's always having a good time. His activities are called lila, which means that he's just playing all the time. We see in these wonderful pictures all around us, Krishna's dancing and he's playing. And so he's the supreme enjoyer. And he also controls everything, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. He owns everything. He's the richest. He's unlimitedly wealthy and beautiful and famous. And he's Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. He's the best friend of everybody. So if you've got a friend who's super wealthy and super famous and super beautiful and super popular and super intelligent, extremely powerful, you'll be very peaceful because they can solve all your problems. So what to speak of the supremely powerful person? So, Gyatvamam Shantim Richati. When you know this, Shanti, you can be peaceful. But peaceful is just the first step. The Kumaras are eager. The word is Didrikshita. They're so excited to see that they're just blazing through the gates of Vaikuntha, not at all interested in seeing the opulence. Imagine you see $1 bill on the ground. You'd probably stop and pick it up, or you'd at least consider, speaking for myself. You see a $100 bill, okay, the pull is even stronger. What to speak of, like when Shyam Sundar and Malati were in San Francisco and they needed rent money, and magically bills, I don't know what type of bills, maybe hundreds, they were hundreds. Yeah, just started flying through the air and they collected what they needed to pay their rent. So when there's opulence, we become attracted. But the Kumaras were not interested in any opulence. They just wanted to see the Supreme Lord. And Rupa Goswami says that we should develop greed to see Krishna. We should have an intense eagerness to see Krishna. I must see Krishna. No matter what it takes, I must see Krishna. And he also says that we need to have utsaha, we need to have this enthusiasm in devotional service. And he says, nischayat dharyat, we also need to have. We need to be determined and we need to be patient. So the challenge is that if we don't have the patient part, but we have the enthusiasm part, then we'll get angry. Right? Like in our devotional service, we have certain goals and desires. I'd like to be at this level, or this project that I'm working on, I'd want it to look like this. And if we're not patient to achieve that goal, we might get angry in the meantime. Right? You ever get frustrated because you're not where you'd like to be? So, this anger can be beneficial in our devotional service. If we don't have the enthusiasm for our devotional service, then we wouldn't get that anger, right? If you didn't really care about a goal, you wouldn't get angry. So actually, the anger is rooted in love. It's rooted in a strong desire. And so that's why the anger of a parent is of a different quality than someone who's angry and antagonistic, right? Or a teacher might get angry with a student, but they care, and their anger is a sign of their affection. I want you to be so much better than you're acting. You're so much more capable than this. So they'll become angry. And another difference between spiritual anger and material anger is it's under control. So someone who is controlled by their anger, then that's going to lead to destruction. Krishna says, Contemplating the objects of the senses leads to attachment, which leads to lust, which leads to anger, which leads to bewilderment of memory, lose your intelligence, and then you bloop. So if we don't have our anger controlled, then this is the unfortunate consequence. But someone who is purified can use anger as a tool for good. So it needs to be rooted in love. It needs to be rooted in an intense eagerness to see Krishna, to serve Krishna, to do wonderful things for Krishna. And we hear examples of Srila Prabhupada getting angry, but he would immediately be able to switch it off and then become peaceful again. So his anger was under control. And devotees would feel, they would experience that he's doing this for my benefit. It's actually uplifting me to receive this strong force of anger. So, the point I thought was practical for us all to meditate on is Rupa Goswami's instruction to have enthusiasm, determination, and patience. Determination, confidence, yeah. Thank you. Synonyms. And so what does it take to be patient? We can reflect on that. Why is it difficult to have patience in our devotional service? Any thoughts? Or what makes it difficult to be patient? Because our desires, or we have material desires. Is that what you're saying?
We're conditioned with lust. And so the desire of lust is to have something now, to get it, to by all means, to not take notice of others' feelings and these things.
Yeah.
And so even in Krishna consciousness, sometimes we take this lust and we start to pursue Krishna consciousness without the thoughts of how does Krishna feel? How does
Nice.
Krishna,
Right.
what is his attitude towards how I'm behaving?
This is a really good point. Because if we're not being patient, we're thinking that our will is supreme, or at least we're not considering that Krishna has a plan, and Krishna has his own timeline. So I want things to unfold in a certain timeline. I'd like it to happen now, whatever it is, filling up the whole ashram, or overcoming some anartha, or someone we love to be at a higher level than they currently are acting. But Krishna has his own timeline for our life. And then also others in our life, we might want something for them, but it's up to them. We have to be sensitive to their needs and allow them to make the right choice in their own time. So that's a good point. If we're not patient, we're not being sensitive to the needs of others and the plan of Krishna. Any other thoughts on? Yes.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I guess it's similar. I was thinking it's like a controlling propensity. You know, like I want to be in control. I want to control what's happening and when it's happening and how it's happening, rather than just being patient and trusting that Krishna's got it under control, even though it's not under my control, but Krishna knows what he's doing, you know, and he's going to do things in the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And he has his reasons also. He has good reasons for not doing things now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also good for me. So yeah,
Nice.
that giving up that controlling propensity, and also having trust and faith in Krishna that he knows what he's doing, and it's all for the best. His plan is better than my plan. So, you know, I won't be attached to my plan, which is to have everything now. I'll just let him do what he needs to do.
Yeah, thank you. So this mentality of a materialistic person or a demoniac person is Ishwaraham, I'm the controller. And we forget that Ishvara Sarvabhutanam, Krishna is actually the supreme controller. Yeah. So these are reasons that it's difficult to be patient. And yet we will sometimes feel angry. And Prabhupada explains that in the impersonal path, you try to negate emotion. But in bhakti, we don't lose any of our emotions, we don't lose any of our activities, we just use them in a purified way. So it's another practical point that we should be okay with the fact that we have strong emotions in our devotional service. And it's actually good that we have strong emotions. We just need to direct them in the proper way. Otherwise they can cause harm to others. Like Prabhupada gives the example of Arjuna, who used his anger to fight in the battle of Kurukshetra. Sometimes a leader or a parent will have to become angry to protect their dependent. Hanuman used his anger to burn down Lanka and save Sita. There's another example. Anyone remember? From Nectar of Devotion. Lord Chaitanya? Can you explain?
Yeah, Jagannath, Lord Chaitanya came and he was like going to kill them.
Yes. Yeah, Lord Chaitanya became angry and wanted to protect his devotee. Yeah. So anger is necessary sometimes, but it has to be properly controlled. And it's a great force. And if we try to subdue it, it will be very dangerous also. It's like a pressure cooker. If you don't let the steam out, then it can explode. So to deal with our strong emotions, we also must make sure we have a steam release, which means confidential association, where we can share vulnerably, we can open our mind and heart and express our difficult emotions, express our frustrations. And in that way, we won't explode on any innocent person who might be walking by. So very important, we have confidential association. And we can do that with Krishna. He's Suhritama. So in our japa, in our prayer, we can open our mind and heart to Krishna and release the steam and just express to him honestly, you know, I'm having these really difficult emotions and this is what's going on. I know you know all of this. I know you're the only one who can really solve it all. So it's a wonderful practice just to speak to the deities like a person who's standing right in front of you and just open your heart to them. Draupadi was saying the other day that when she was young, she used to do this so naturally. She remembers holding on to the little fence here or the whatever barrier and talking to Kalachandji and telling him what was happening in her day. And as she's gotten older, it's harder to do that. So we need to remind ourselves, yeah, he's here actually. We can just talk to Krishna and open our heart to him. And also we need devotees who we can reveal our minds to as well. So let's hear some thoughts from all of you. These are some of my reflections on this verse. And Jai Hari Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Thanks for the awesome class.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so you mentioned that we have to be greedy to see Krishna, right? Was that right?
Yes.
Did we have to be greedy to see Krishna?
Rupa Goswami says that.
Oh, the Rupa Goswami, thank you. So, if we feel like we don't have this greed, what do we do to either get the desire to have the greed, or what do we do to get this greediness that we feel like we don't have?
Well, you can find those who have it, serve them, hear from them, beg them for advancement.
Make me greedy.
What's that?
I was just saying, I begged them, I was just pretending like I was begging to them.
Yeah, yeah. And also we can cry. Krishna, I have no desire for you. What's wrong with me? And that will help us. We should cry that we don't want to cry because we don't have the greed. Whatever it takes. Any other thoughts? How do we get this greed? Yes, Gokulananda.
When lust is not fulfilled, it gives rise to anger.
Mm-hmm.
And when lust is fulfilled, it gives rise to greed. So we should be lusty for Krishna service, fulfill, and then we'll be greedy for more and more.
Nice. Yeah. Jai Hari definitely has that quality.
Our glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai. So we didn't answer Anna's question. Perhaps we should bring that up. I thought maybe it would get addressed, but I don't think. Yeah, can you ask your question again and we can discuss it?
I'm a little bit more aware of it now, because I guess what I'm asking about is like the line, because we were talking about like patience, and I feel that, it's like everything is Krishna's plan, and so it's like, well, if you wanted me to see him, then I would be seeing him. So who am I to get angry that that's not happening?
If Krishna wanted us to see him, then we would be seeing him?
Yeah, because,
Though, I mean, yeah, that's true. He will reveal himself, but he reciprocates with our desire. So the more intensely we desire him and pray and cry, actually, Krishna, please, I want to see you.
But in asking about like the validity of anger, this anger is appropriate, but it also isn't appropriate.
I mean, it's natural. Appropriate or not, it will happen. And it's because we have a strong desire. So we need to recognize that it's natural and normal. And Prabhupada Priya.
I was just thinking about how, when Krishna disappeared from the presence of the gopis, particularly like when he left Vrindavan or so-called left Vrindavan, went to Mathura, went to Dwarka, and he was gone for like 100 years. It was crazy amount of time. They got so frustrated, they were really actually like quite angry with him, and they were just, at Krishna, let's just forget about him. Just don't even talk about him. Don't mention his name. I don't want to see him. Don't want to hear about him because it causes so much pain. So they were actually like angry, But yeah, it's similar that their anger was born of intense desire to be in Krishna's association. So then, and similarly, like when he left the rasa dance, they were also very disturbed, and they were looking all over for him, and they were frustrated. But then they all came together, and they just chanted Hare Krishna, Prabhupada says. They were singing the glories of Krishna. Prabhupada says specifically chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. And then Krishna appeared, when he saw that they were all united, and they were cooperating and harmoniously chanting Hare Krishna together, then he appeared. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, don't try to see God, but act in a way that God will want to see you. So, we get some indication of the conditions under which God wants to see us, from the gopis. That in the beginning, like the reason Krishna left the rasa dance was because there was some like feelings like some slight, selfishness, like I want Krishna for myself, Krishna's only with me. But then when he left, then they all pulled together, they all like united, like we tend to bond in our suffering. So, Krishna creates situations that force us to take shelter of each other, actually, devotees. And when we do, he's very pleased by that. When we come together, we work together, we depend on each other, support each other in his service. And especially when we chant his holy names together in japa and kirtan and morning program, when devotees all come together for a morning program, like we've been seeing, it's Saturdays and stuff. I feel like Krishna's pleased, there's like, you feel Krishna's presence in that sangha, that unity, and everyone happy together. So, we don't need to get angry. We need to just do the needful, you know. We just need to do what it takes for Krishna to want to see us and to be present, and then we'll be happy in Krishna's presence, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nanda Braja? Go ahead.
In that purport of Nectar of Instruction, Srila Prabhupada mentions the couple that wants to, or the wife in particular, that wants to have a baby. And when that next step of relationship comes around, there needs to be a nice trust built between the two. So it's really interesting, this dynamic between patience and confidence. And we're showing Krishna how interested we are by those patience and confidence. They're patient, and we're confident that surely Krishna will give me what I need to keep moving forward. And with that attitude, we really can see that maybe it's not exactly what we want, but Krishna gives us what we need. That's not a song, a Beatles song. might not always get what I want. So if being around devotees, reading scriptures and stuff, we start to see Krishna open that curtain a little bit more and more and more. And we're building that trust and that confidence in Him, and then patience coming in, and enthusiasm gets stronger. So it's those three are just such an amazing dynamic that they're working together of enthusiasm, patience, and confidence.
Thank you. Gokulananda.
Thank you, Nandavaraj Prabhu, for sharing that. Like Srila Prabhupada says, right, if a pregnant woman, she needs to have patience for 9 months, then only she can have a baby, right? So going back to your question earlier, why do we, as a practitioner, we lack patience in our sadhana? So I was thinking, outside, there is a difference between sadhya and sadhana, goal and the means to attain the goal. That's why they lack patience, because they want to just jump over to the goal. But in our process, sometimes we fail to understand, or rather we forget that the means to attain the goal and the goal itself is one and the same. So we forget to relish that part of practice. Mm-hmm. And that's why we lack the patience.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Though despite all of this, still we get angry sometimes. And the point I'm trying to make is that it's okay, and Prabhupada is saying that we're not angerless. It's a natural human emotion. So when we have that, we can try to purify it and act in a higher way. But what's clear to me is the 4 Kumaras, the gopis, these are very, very high examples. But at our level, our anger might not be as purified. So we need to be careful about it. One, we need to recognize it's natural, and then use it carefully and try to develop more patience. Yeah. You have maybe last point?
Thank you. Actually, I had some thoughts about Jahiri's question about how, if you don't have that greed for Krishna. And I was just kind of thinking objectively. I was like, well, if I don't have this deep, deep desire to attain someone who's supposed to be the most magnificent, the most opulent, right? And anyone through whom, if I need anything, will always be provided. Then why would I not feel that greed or that desire deeply within my heart? And it would be like an indicator of something. Like I am, for whatever reason, maybe I don't believe that Krishna is who he says he is, who the acharyas make him out to be, and or maybe I feel like I don't need him, or I can help myself in this world. I can attain what it is that I need through my own self, and maybe like using it as that indicator. Like there's something here that I'm not understanding, or there's something that I don't believe about Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we did have this like whole, if we could really see it, how much here we're so dependent on him, and by having this this deep greed, this like complete surrender, then everything would be just fine. We'd be so taken care of. There would just be this like really deep exchange of love all the time. But if there's something that I'm holding on to, I'm holding out on him in some way, and that's why I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling this deep, deep greed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess like digging into that and being like, where is this coming from? Where is my resistance coming from?
That's a great point. Thank you. It reminds me of Prabhupada's saying in this purport we read that someone who is self-realized knows the super soul. Can't find it. They know themselves, they know the super soul, and they know the interrelation.
Yeah.
And so if you have the proper understanding, I'm very tiny, Krishna's unlimited, the sambandha jnana, then you'll naturally develop this strong desire to be with him. And so we need to strengthen our our knowledge of Krishna and ourself by reading Prabhupada's books, by coming to Bhagavatam class, by discussing with other devotees. So thank you, Anna. We're lacking this knowledge. Okay, how about we have these final 2 points and then we'll close off the class.
Yeah, I was thinking, I guess this is also in line with Jahiri's question.
Sorry.
That, the reason we don't have that intense eagerness is because, for Krishna, is because we're eager for other things. You know, like in the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment, material opulence, the resolute determination for devotional service to Krishna doesn't take place. So, yeah, if we want, it's like we're saying, I want Krishna, but we want to light the fire of devotional service, but we're also putting water on it with the other hand. So we have to like really, and this is also related to what you just said about sambandha. You know, if we realize that we're actually like not these bodies, that we have nothing to do with this material world, then what do we want? What is there to want here? What do we want to experience here? What are we looking for? What kind of like, there's nothing here for us. You know, the only thing that here is just to make, what Prabhupada said, that make the best use of a bad bargain. I have this body, okay, I'm in this situation, let me use it for Krishna. Just to whatever extent I can, let me just use it for Krishna and purify my consciousness and go back to Godhead. Because there's nothing here for me. You know, I'm a soul, I'm not meant to be in this material world. So, yeah, but our problem is that we're still illusion thinking. We still think that if we just try hard enough, we just get the right situation, if we just get the right, you know, relationships in our lives, or get a little more money, that we can actually be happy here. And it's like, it's not going to happen. You just have to give it up and just be like, no, I'm going back to Godhead.
So we shouldn't get angry with Krishna when he arranges us to be in difficulty or some suffering, to help us understand this world is not our home.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you. Okay. Yes.
One thing I was just concerned about, that maybe in this talk, is that attachment to Guru. Krishna makes it very clear that the spiritual master is needed to come to Krishna. So then, you know, to just contemplate how much we're surrendered to our, you know, the spiritual master, how much we understand their instruction, so that we can get that, you know, mercy from him to know Krishna.
Thank you. Yasya prasadan nagati kutopi. If we don't have the mercy of the Guru, then there's no chance. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Krantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.